Every 24 seconds, at least one person dies on the road somewhere in the world. Daily, this is more than 3,000 and annually about 1,350,000. In 2019, we saw 78 million more people on Earth and 80 million more cars. Air pollution causes more than 4 million premature deaths each year. In fact, 95% of the inhabitants of the planet breathe unsuitable air. Exhaust gases are the main cause of this pollution within large cities. Generally speaking, wherever you look, there is some kind of problem caused by cars. How good would it be to live in a city that didn't have suffocating gases and eternal traffic jams? What if cities really could become car-free? Perhaps we should ask the people of Mazda about this. In the middle of the Arabian desert, 87,777 solar panels have been installed on 22 hectares of territory. They provide environmentally friendly energy to the nearby residential complex. It's fenced off from the desert by a protective wall with a 150-foot or 45-meter wind towers rising above the perimeter. These traditional bedouin structures keep the modern city at a comfortable temperature. Its narrow, shaded streets are designed for walking, something that cannot be said about the streets of other Arab cities. The roofs of the building are also equipped with solar panels, and the facades of some buildings even resemble sand waves. There are no switches or water taps in the houses, as everything works off of motion sensors. An unmanned, high-speed electric car delivers the residents of Mazda to their destination. It drives 3 blocks one way with a quiet hum and then changes direction. All this has reduced the overall carbon emissions to almost zero. The city is designed for 50,000 inhabitants and the same number of students and workers. Here it is, a happy future without cars and with clean air. Or maybe not. Mazda City is located 10.5 miles, or 17 kilometers, from Abu Dhabi. The only way to get to it is by car. Massive parking lots are located in front of the main entrance to this closed city. In fact, this is not really a city at all. The planned construction was never completed, and instead of 50,000 people, there's only a little more than 1,000 living there. About 4,000 more people come to Mazda to work, by car. Perhaps people are not yet ready for such futuristic living conditions. Or maybe they just don't want to give up their personal vehicle. Most of us don't understand why this is even necessary. But here are some of the main arguments in favor of a car-free city. The first one is the air pollution we've already mentioned. The same Arab Emirates emit about 25 tons of carbon per capita into the atmosphere. This is one of the highest rates in the entire world. In the United States, almost 30% of global environmental pollution comes from passenger and freight transport. So the number one argument here is that fewer cars equals cleaner air. As a bonus, the noise in the city is also reduced. The second argument for reducing the amount of transport is that less cars means more space. Pay attention to what occupies a huge part of any city: roads and parking lots. They are constantly being expanded and new ones are built. In Houston and Dallas alone, almost 70% of city land is allocated for parking. It turns out that modern cities are more adapted for cars and not for people. Otherwise, a new square or a park, perhaps a playground or a cafe with a terrace, would appear on the site instead of the next road junction. It turns out that the rampant use of personal vehicles not only harms the environment and the urban landscape, it destroys society. Sounds apocalyptic and implausible, but there is some logic in this. Machines clearly reduce the interaction between people. Sometimes you don't even have to get out of your car and talk to a living person to buy food. But man is an incredibly social being. Think about what places you like most. Parks and pedestrian walkways, movie theaters and entertainment centers, beaches and promenades. In other words, those places where there are people, but no cars. And while new neighborhoods with parking lots and wide roads are being built in thousands of cities, cars have been banned in Oslo. If you go to the capital of Norway, you won't be able to get to the city center by car. Parking spaces there have been replaced with bike racks and mini parks with benches. Part of the roads have been converted into cycling paths and pedestrian zones. When it comes to special service vehicles, said restrictions are lifted though. There are also special parking spaces for the disabled. Trucks that deliver goods can only drive on these streets at certain times. Local residents have gone to using bikes or they walk. Others ride scooters or rollerblades. And here's yet another argument. The less you sit in the car, the more you move. So your health improves and you can communicate more with people. But there is a more important reason for such a dramatic decision on the part of the Norwegians than just the development of cycling habits. Oslo is surrounded by mountains, so exhaust gases often accumulate over the city. For this reason, the government decided to reduce the level of air pollution, and they succeeded in doing so. Granted, the result was impressive also because the Norwegians are actively changing their gasoline cars to electric ones. By the end of 2021, 80% of buyers had chosen an electric car. By 2025, Norway plans to completely abandon other modes of transport. This, of course, will help the environment, but still won't exactly save the streets from traffic jams and parking. This problem was solved in Chengdu Great City. This is called the Satellite City. High-rise buildings are built in a circle and are compactly located on a plot of land about a half a square mile, just over 1 square kilometer large. Any point in the city can be reached on foot or by bike in about 10 minutes. This big city accommodates almost 80,000 inhabitants, while at the same time being both environmentally friendly and practically autonomous. It consumes almost half as much water and energy as other Chinese cities with the same number of people. And there is 89% less garbage here too. Furthermore, the local eco-park organizes the processing of solid waste and wastewater treatment. Carbon dioxide emissions here are below average by 60%, partially due to the abandonment of cars. Another tricky bit is turning summer heat into energy to heat houses in the wintertime. Almost everything in this city is perfect, except that it was never built. The project was developed in 2012, but it remained only a layout. And again, we see the same story. An eco-friendly, compact, modern city, but no one is interested in it. So what's the problem here? Let's be honest, at least once there's been the question, where do you live? To which the answer goes something like, and this new city was built nearby. The bottom line is that it's necessary to modernize those cities that already exist. And this is a serious problem. Or is it? The Spanish city of Pontevedra closed its city center to cars back in 1999. Since then, the pedestrian policy has only evolved from there. Over the past 10 years, carbon dioxide emissions in Pontevedra have decreased by 65%. The city has received many international awards for its quality of life, mobility, architecture, safety, and pretty much everything else. It looks like the Spaniards there really do well in this city without cars. Well, not completely without them, but at least in the center, like the Norwegians. Granted, not everyone agrees with this approach. Press Secretary of the Association of British Drivers Hugh Bladen believes that this is a bad strategy. If the British are banned from entering the main streets, this will only worsen the situation. Instead of reviving urban centers, the lack of road connectivity will turn them into abandoned lots, a paradise for drug addicts and drunkards. Bladen believes that the problem is not in the machines themselves. Many cities suffer from traffic jams and chaotic parking because they are poorly planned. You can't argue with that, of course. Although the architects of the past couldn't really create streets designed for cars when they did not yet exist. This is one of the main problems, and they're not building new cities either. The attempts made in both the United Arab Emirates and China have proven this. So we need to change what we have, and many metropolitan areas do just that, only in different ways. If in Oslo they close the passage to the center, then in other cities they widen roads, build new interchanges, and plan city life with cars in every possible way. But if living in a pedestrian city with parks and clean air is so good, why doesn't everyone follow the example of Pontevedra? Let's go back to the days when horses and buggies were the primary means of transportation. By saddling your stallion or calling a carriage, you could go directly to the door of the desired house. It was convenient and practical for the personal movements of residents, but such mobility is even more important for the economy. It was necessary to bring materials and goods to stores, forges, and workshops. The more the settlement grew, the more horses appeared on its streets, along with their manure. At one time, cars became a salvation for cities drowning in waste, and so the cars replaced the wagons, and the exhaust gases replaced the manure. At the same time, ambulance brigades, firemen, and policemen appeared who saved lives, in some part thanks to cars. Some professions are inextricably linked with the need to travel a lot from door to door. This is where the concept of the last mile comes to the surface. A lot of people use public transport, but oftentimes the distance between the bus stop and the end point of the journey is decisive. Let's not forget that personal transport has made people with disabilities mobile. Now the ban on using personal transport can be considered as an infringement on human rights and freedoms. Obviously, the fewer cars, the cleaner the air, the greener the city, the better the health, the more communication there is. So what happens? Are people just not aware? That may not be it, according to urban planning researcher Ransford Achimpong. By simply taking people's cars, the city should offer an alternative. Maybe some lively old woman would love to ride a bike, but in her city there are no rental services, nor bike paths or parking spaces. There is no elevator or ramp on her house to bring her own bike into the apartment. Or maybe there's a young mother who would love to use public transport, but she needs to take her children to school and kindergarten and then be on time for work. Buses run infrequently in the morning, they're overcrowded, and it's still a long walk from the bus stop. Additionally, public transport lanes are occupied by cars parked there and everyone is stuck in traffic jams. Ridding cities of the cars is a mutual issue. On one hand, the government would have to impose restrictions, but also provide alternatives. On the other hand, residents would be forced to follow these laws, although their living conditions may become much better. Many cities are already supporting worldwide car-free days. Every year, on September 22nd, the central districts are blocked for traffic. In some metropolitan areas, this is already a regular, even weekly practice. Some streets become a pedestrian-only space every Sunday. Despite all the difficulties and contradictions, the trend is quite clear. People are swapping out their gas vehicles for more environmentally friendly electric cars. In large cities, alternative modes of transport are actively developing. Many citizens deliberately refuse to use cars, so soon enough, it won't just be Pontevedra that will have world awards. How do you feel about the problem regarding excess cars in cities? Share your opinion in the comments below.